So obviously I have the first injury and I sit out 4 games and then I come back and I play really well.
Yeah.
And I feel really good. And like even this beginning of the year, like I played great. Like I started the year really good. Like I felt really great. Like my numbers were great. I was shooting the ball well. And then I get hurt and it's like, okay, like you got to get healthy, whatever. You're like, I'm going to do whatever I can, you know, to get back to what I was doing and whatever.
When the WNBA's so-called golden child sits across from Sue Bird and casually detonates a line that slices through the league's already fragile reputation, you're not just hearing frustration. You're watching a slow-motion implosion. Caitlin Clark didn't just gripe about bad officiating. She fired a torpedo straight at the league's authority, a league that's been coasting on half-truths and PR spin for years. And let's not kid ourselves. None of this was some off-the-cuff venting. Clark waited, schemed, and picked her moment with predator-like precision. While the talking head outlets wasted oxygen debating whether she was right or wrong, the real story was staring them in the face. She knew exactly what she was doing, and the league had no clue how to stop her. This wasn't a frustrated athlete popping off. This was a sniper shot fired after months of watching the circus from the sidelines, studying every rig call and every limp excuse. And when she finally pulled the trigger, the fallout was instant. Hashtags surged, fans smelled blood, and the league's so-called leadership went mute. That silence, it wasn't dignity, it wasn't restraint, it was cowardice. The WNBA brass folded instantly like a house of cards in a stiff wind. No statement, no pushback, nothing but a deafening vacuum. And in that vacuum, Clark's voice became the only one that mattered. Here's the ugly truth. One calculated sentence exposed years of institutional rot. The league's credibility was already paper-thin, and Clark just ripped the paper. What comes next won't just reshape basketball, it could unravel the WNBA's fragile image altogether. Once you see the mechanics behind this little slip, you'll never mistake her words for anything less than a carefully staged rebellion.
And also, like with the type of injuries that I've dealt with, like there's no real... It's not like 6 weeks. All right, you're coming back for the Connecticut Sun game on August
all about how you
30th
feel in the
or
moment.
whatever. It's like, how do you feel? Like, and even like when I have been back, like I don't know how I'm going to feel the next day after playing, like when you're dealing with like these type of injuries. So I think just like the patience of dealing with all of that and giving myself a lot of grace. And
to understand why Caitlin Clark's words landed like a gut punch, you have to see the wreck she walked into. The WNBA wasn't enjoying some peaceful professional era. It was drowning in one of the ugliest officiating credibility meltdowns it had seen in years. Night after night, fans weren't watching basketball. They were watching referees botch calls with cartoon-level inconsistency. And thanks to social media, every blown whistle was immortalized and memed before the sweat even dried. Players weren't swallowing it anymore either. Stars were openly risking fines because biting their tongues had become unbearable. Coaches were being slapped with penalties for daring to say out loud what every fan screamed at their TV. And then the commissioner stepped up to pour jet fuel on the inferno with that now infamous grenade, "No winning team complains about officiating." Tone Deaf doesn't even scratch it. It was an insult masquerading his leadership. Fans took it as a slap in the face. Players saw it as a middle finger. What little credibility the league had left went up in smoke that day. That's the battlefield Clark stepped onto. And she wasn't just another rookie stepping into the fire. She was the rookie, the golden goose, the only reason casual fans even bothered tuning in. Her name was the marketing campaign. Her face was the ticket sales. She hadn't even played a full season, and she was already the fragile business model centerpiece. While she was recovering from injury, she got a front row seat to the chaos. Bad calls stacking up, teammates suffocating under pressure, fans frothing with rage. She watched it all, silently, knowing her shadow loomed over every headline. So when she finally decided to open her mouth, the league couldn't shrug it off. This wasn't just another athlete whining. This was the only player they can't afford to muzzle, the rookie phenom who basically owns their spotlight. And her shot across the bow wasn't just about officiating. It was about power.
To understand why Caitlin Clark's words landed like a gut punch, you have to see the wreck she walked into. The WNBA wasn't enjoying some peaceful, professional era. It was drowning in one of the ugliest officiating credibility meltdowns it had seen in years. Night after night, fans weren't watching basketball, they were watching referees botch calls with cartoon-level inconsistency. And thanks to social media, every blown whistle was immortalized and memed before the sweat even dried. Here's why Caitlin Clark's little comment was far more than a throwaway soundbite, and why it should terrify the WNBA. She didn't spit it out in the middle of a loss with adrenaline pumping. She bided her time. She waited, calculating, for the exact moment when the league was weakest and most exposed. And let's be clear, this wasn't some random coincidence. Clark wasn't just sidelined with an injury, she was perched like a hawk, watching every mistake unfold in real time. No fouls on her record, no emotional baggage from the floor, just a clean, cold vantage point on the league's worst flaws. She had the luxury of studying every botched call without breaking a sweat. While her teammates slogged through games, she was effectively running surveillance, rewinding tape, logging patterns, and collecting ammo. By the time she opened her mouth, it wasn't frustration, it was a dossier. And then there's the platform. This is where her media manipulation skills are impossible to ignore. She didn't bury the comment in some post-practice scrum, where it would vanish in a sea of filler quotes. No, she hand-delivered it on Sue Bird's podcast, the WNBA's most polished megaphone, stamped with the credibility of a Hall of Famer. Bird isn't just respected, she's untouchable. Her platform is treated like gospel by players, coaches, fans, and media alike, which means Clark knew exactly what she was buying: legitimacy. By choosing that stage, Clark guaranteed her criticism would echo, not just through basketball, but into entertainment pages, political circles, even activist communities that cling to Bird's words like scripture. This wasn't a comment, it was a staged demolition, a hit job cloaked in respectability. And the message? Brutally simple. If you're going to slap the league in the face, do it from the pulpit of one of its saints. Clark didn't just speak, she hijacked the one podium the WNBA front office can't dismiss without looking like fools.
Here's the brutal setup: a league wobbling on its weakest legs, a rookie who already commands more attention than the commissioner, and a platform engineered to turn gossip into gospel. That's not strategy, that's an ambush, and Clark knew it. So when she dropped the 6 words, "I wouldn't miss a call," it wasn't offhand. It was a blade slipped between the league's ribs, delivered calm, almost playful, but sharpened enough to cut through the WNBA's already brittle credibility. 6 words that landed heavier than any playoff highlight because they didn't just call out officiating, they mocked the system itself. Watch the clip. Sue Bird catches it instantly. The flash of a smile, the slight head tilt, like she just witnessed a grenade go off mid-interview. This wasn't frustration. This was a public hit job, a direct strike at the one thing the league pretends it still controls: integrity. And the blowback? Immediate. Social media didn't just share it, they weaponized it. Hashtags exploded, fans deputized Clark as the league's unofficial watchdog, and suddenly every bad whistle had her name tagged on it. Overnight, she wasn't just a player, she was the face of the league's failure. Behind the curtain, panic set in. Some executives floated the idea of having a quiet word with her, as if pulling aside the only player keeping the lights on was anything but suicidal. Others knew the truth. You don't muzzle the meal ticket, not unless you're ready to watch ticket sales nosedive. Even the referees felt the shrapnel. Whispers of outrage spread, some officials furious at the disrespect, others privately conceding she nailed it. But the league itself, pathetic silence. No statement, no defense, no counter-narrative. Just a hollow vacuum where leadership should have been. And that silence screamed louder than any press release. It said exactly what the WNBA didn't dare to admit. Their most marketable star just called them out in public, and they were too gutless to fight back. This is the moment where the story breaks free from the podcast chair and stomps directly onto the hardwood. Because Caitlin Clark's real test didn't happen in front of Sue Bird's microphone, it happened the second she limped back onto the court after injury. That first game back wasn't a return, it was a trial by fire, a live experiment with millions of eyes waiting to see if the league would flinch. From the opening tip, the tension was radioactive. You could feel it in the air, like the arena itself was holding its breath. Every drive, every bump, every whistle or lack of one hit like a detonator. And the crowd? They weren't passive spectators anymore. They were sharks circling blood in the water. The first time Clark got hacked on a drive and no whistle came, the arena didn't just boo. They erupted. It wasn't anger, it was anticipation. They weren't watching the refs, they were watching her. Would she smirk? Would she bite? And when she finally turned to the baseline ref and gave that same crooked half smile she'd worn in the Sue Bird interview, the place exploded. It wasn't noise anymore, it was complicity. The fans weren't just watching the joke, they were in on it. What the broadcast didn't show was the way this tilted the axis of control. Before, referees dictated the game. Now, every call involving Clark was radioactive. Blow the whistle, and you validated her. Swallow it, and you looked corrupt. Either way, the decision was clipped, posted, slowed down, and dissected across Twitter threads, Reddit breakdowns, and sports talk panels by morning. Clark had made herself the most scrutinized player in the history of the league. Every bruise, every stumble, every non-whistle became a referendum on the WNBA itself. And she knew it. Don't buy the humble soundbites. She knew exactly what she was engineering. Remember when she casually mentioned the constant full-court pressure she faced? That wasn't a complaint about defense. That was a loaded statement, a signal flare. Translation, you're not protecting me. You're not protecting any of us. It's why one insider described the moment like this. It was surreal. The refs weren't officiating a game anymore. They were officiating Caitlin Clark's narrative. Another claimed a veteran official muttered under his breath after the first quarter, "This isn't basketball anymore. This is politics and sneakers." By the final buzzer, it was obvious. Clark wasn't just fighting for better officiation. She was building a case file in real time, game after game in front of millions. A public trial where the WNBA itself sat in the defendant's chair and the fans served as jury. And every smirk, every missed whistle, every hashtag was another piece of evidence in a case the league had no chance of winning.
By speaking out, Clark didn't just complain. She rewired the system. She set a new standard, one so blunt it couldn't be ignored. Treat your stars fairly or pay in blood and PR meltdowns. Before her, the WNBA could swat away complaints with pocket change fines and boilerplate press releases. Background noise, static. But now, every foul against Clark carried the risk of going nuclear in real time. One wrong whistle, one swallowed call, and suddenly there's a trending hashtag, a SportsCenter segment, and sponsors lighting up phones in league offices. She flipped the script completely. The league no longer dictated the terms. She did. And that's the dirty truth nobody will say on the record. This wasn't a gripe. This was a power play. Officially, the league stayed stone silent, but unofficially, the whispers spread like smoke. They weren't just trapped in back rooms anymore. They bled into fan forums, insider group chats, even business media. And the pattern was impossible to ignore. Clark's 6 words weren't just echoing in arenas. They were rattling boardrooms. Corporate sponsors began poking around, not politely either. Some were reportedly pressing for player protection protocols, code for make sure Clark stays healthy at all costs. Why? Because she isn't just a rookie phenom. She's the product. Her body is a revenue stream. Her knees are advertising inventory. One source allegedly tied to a broadcast partner said it flat out. If she's not on the court, we lose money. Period. Meanwhile, online, fans took it further. Reddit threads, Twitter storms, TikTok breakdowns, all buzzing with one increasingly sinister theory. Rival teams are deliberately roughing her up. The logic? Take her out, even temporarily, and you don't just weaken her team, you rip the spotlight away from the one player who can flip a game in a single quarter. Is there data to prove it? Not yet, but when the perception itself becomes reality, the damage is already done. And here's where it gets really crazy. Reports claim some league officials have floated the unthinkable, modifying officiating guidelines mid-season to protect star players. That's a nuclear option in pro sports. It almost never happens, but the fact it's even on the table shows how rattled they are. The catch? Doing it would basically admit Clark was right all along. that the refs were inconsistent, that the system was broken. And if they validate her once, they open the floodgates. Because if Caitlin Clark can call out the league and win, what's to stop every other star from challenging authority the same way? One insider put it this way: it's Pandora's box. You give her this win, you'll never control the narrative again. So here the WNBA sits, boxed in, bullied by its own golden child, sponsors breathing down their neck, fans screaming conspiracy, and the refs fuming that their credibility is on life support. And Clark? She's sitting back, smiling, knowing that 6 words pushed an entire league to its breaking point.
Whether any of these whispered changes ever see daylight almost doesn't matter. The damage is already done. Here's the ugly truth. When corporate sponsors, TV partners, and swarms of online fans start echoing a player's words back at the league, that's no longer a dispute. That's a coup. And coups don't walk back easily. The Caitlin Clark controversy isn't some chapter in a season. It's the opening scene of a much bigger war, one that stretches way beyond blown whistles. This is about whether the next generation of stars sees silence as survival or sees rebellion as duty. For decades, athletes were conditioned like obedient soldiers. Keep it quiet, handle it in-house, let the suits decide. But social media dynamited that rulebook. Now, one well-placed sentence can spark a fire in minutes, and in hours, it's a trending hashtag plastered across timelines your sponsors can't ignore. Clark didn't just talk. She demonstrated how weaponized influence works in real time. And the league noticed. One exec allegedly muttered behind closed doors, "She's running the show now, not us." Another insider claimed bluntly, if Clark decides to make officiating a crusade, we'll have no choice but to follow her. That's not leadership, that's submission. We've seen the template before. NBA superstars forcing political conversations, NFL players bulldozing safety reforms, and global soccer icons dragging federations into equal pay battles. Every time it starts with one voice, loud and defiant enough to rip through the spin machine. And in the WNBA, Clark may have just taken the mic for good. The ripple effects are already visible. Rumors swirl that rookies coming up the pipeline see Clark's smirk as proof. Proof that if you call the league out, fans won't crucify you. They'll crown you. That's gasoline on a fire the league doesn't know how to contain. Travel conditions, paychecks, marketing politics, all of it could be fair game now. Of course, not every player has Clark's shield. Most don't have her revenue power or her halo effect. But revolutions don't need an army at the start. They need a spark. And Clark's 6-word grenade is still smoldering. So here's the real cliffhanger. Does the WNBA scramble to stomp it out, risking looking like tyrants trying to silence their own golden goose? Or do they fan the flames and risk losing control of the narrative forever? Either way, the league's in a no-win scenario, because one rookie just exposed the truth. In 2025, the balance of power in women's basketball doesn't sit in the commissioner's office. It sits in Caitlin Clark's mouth.